to uh-oh, say something. Let's see what we have here for. All right. I have no counters showing on my screen, so I wonder if there is on the other. We don't know if there's anybody there yet, but we are live on my sewing room's Facebook Live for this Fan Mail Friday. And I'm going to see if I can. Ah, there we are. We got our viewers up here. Let's see if that'll go. No, we don't have that. Um, so, yes, it is Friday again, and we are here to keep you up to date on some of the things that are going on at my sewing room, to give you some heads up for new products that might be showing up, and to maybe do a little bit of fun things. I'm just checking my screen. Welcome to live chat. Nothing is happening. That looks pretty good. Okay, so hopefully all is well. And hopefully you have had a wonderful week and you are going to have a fabulous weekend. Um, there's nobody here but us chickens because it's going to be an exciting week for some of the folks here from my sewing room. Um, Anne and Leah are heading off to Bernina University next week, so they are going to be dropping in at unusual times um, to keep you up to date on some of the exciting things that are going on at Bernina University. Hopefully, what do we got up here? I have a feeling that we don't have all of our streaming going, and I have no idea how to take care of it. So there's Carol, there's Robin, that's lovely. I know we have some people joining me, and yeah, next week our Facebook Live, our YouTube stream is going to be kind of in and out, but we'll keep in touch no matter what is going on. So before we get going today, and what we're going to be doing is carrying on from last week with a little bit more thread painting. We had some interest on our fan mail on how to thread paint. So I thought, yeah, well, let's just do a wee bit more. I'll show you how the project is going. What you see behind me, we like to feature our new fabrics on our Facebook feeds. And so most of this is a new line of ombre batiks. So if you love ombre fabrics, and I love ombres because it's like getting 6 fabrics in one, or if you love batiks, you may want to come by the store and check these out, give them a feel. They're going to work in really well with a lot of your batik projects. I think Chelsea's put out some fairly neutral ones aside from that bright green. She must be feeling in an Irish mood tonight. The other thing that I have, and that is this guy here. Last week when we started our thread painting, we were featuring our new fabric line called Soar. It's little birds and things like that on it. This is the accompanying wide back. It is absolutely gorgeous. And whether you're using that fabric line or you have something else, this is just going to go with so many different projects. And I love working with the wide backs on the long arm. No seams to worry about. They quilt through absolutely beautifully. So, yes, today we're going to do some thread painting. Remember last week? Carol says the Rogers issue has affected Facebook, so only YouTube is working. I'm not surprised about that, Carol. I was calling a customer this afternoon to tell her quilt was ready, and it was a weird message I got on the line, and I thought, I bet you she's a Rogers customer. So, okay, so we are YouTubing. Just remember, you can like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel for even more content that we like to put together for you. We call it Facebook Live, but yeah, it's all kinds of fun things. So, before we get going, I'm going to refresh you on what we actually did last time. So, we decided to do on our fabric piece, this is part of that soar line, I thought, now let's do a bird. So we went online. I decided I would do a chickadee, and I found myself, hey, a reference photograph. I transferred that onto some of our Golden Threads paper, which I love, love, love. Laid that over top of a small piece of the fabric, and we stitched through that with some stabilizer on the back to give us an outline to work on. So there's our outline, and you can see some of the bobbin thread right there laying down quite nicely. Just happened to be what I had in my machine when I got started. So that's how we transferred our design onto the fabric. I've done a little bit more work. So this is how he's coming along. I'll show you that. And when I do thread painting, I kind of like to lay down just a layer of color, I guess you would say. And I like to kind of work dark to light because thread is opaque. You can't see through it. So that means your light thread could sit on top of the dark thread and you'll still see it. I mentioned the bobbin thread there. I was just working with what I had in my machine at the time, but I want to tell you about something I discovered today about bobbin thread. If you've been in the long arm, and I've mentioned to you, when I'm quilting on the long arms, we use Deco Bob 80 weight thread in our bobbins. Now, if you're familiar with thread numbering, a standard thread like our Isacord or most ordinary sewing threads are a 40 weight. The higher the number, the thinner the thread. So that means an 80 weight Deco Bob is very, very fine. I like it in the long arms because on the back of the quilt, you don't see much for thread color. You see the texture instead. It is great in the bobbin for thread painting because this uses a lot of thread. So what it's going to do is it's going to cut down on the bulk. That's one thing. And it's going to go a lot farther. If you could wind 50 meters of your standard thread onto your bobbin, you might be able to get 80 or 90 meters of the Deco Bob onto your bobbin, which means you can sew longer without having to wind a bobbin. I know, stopping to wind a bobbin. So obviously we have Deco Bob on the spool. We also carry Deco Bob as a pre-wound. Look at this, pre-wound bobbins. You can get multi-packs, you can get solid packs of neutral colors or any color you want really, or you can get a card of all the different colors. This is handy if you like to do a lot of hand stitching, hand applique, all those colors at your fingertips. But I've always hesitated because I look at the card and it says on here, class 15. Well, I don't know if that's going to fit my sewing machine or not. And you really do have to make sure the bobbin fits your machine. So I discovered this. Isn't that wonderful? Hanging on the rack where we keep our pre-wound bobbins is a Wonderfil bobbin guide. And basically what it is, it shows you they come in 3 different sizes. And the rest of this little booklet is a list of different sewing machines. There's Bernina listed. And different models of those sewing machines. And a little color code that tells you what kind of bobbin in the pre-wounds will fit your machine. So I went, Oh, that makes life a whole lot easier. There's mine right there, my home machine, the Dream Creator 2400. So that gives me a whole lot more confidence in purchasing a package of the Wonderfil pre-wound bobbins, because if we're right into things, we're working away, to have to, oh yeah, bobbin thread's running out. So much easier to grab something pre-wound, take the old one out, pop the new one in, do a little test, make sure it's working fine, and you're off to the races. If you are going to switch to a finer bobbin thread, there is the possibility of you having to adjust your top thread tension. So when you jump into these, give it a little try. Try it on different substrates, whether you're working with just fabric, maybe you're using it for piecing, or you're wanting to do thread painting. What kind of stabilizer do you have in there? Yeah, give it a little test, make sure it's working to your satisfaction, adjust your top tension if you need to. So I was very excited to learn that, and that's something that I'm putting on my to-do list. So let's do a little thread painting while we still have YouTube working. Who knows when things are gonna crash here on us. So I'm working on a brother sewing machine today. I'm going to move you to a close-up view. There you go. And I've just left the regular bobbin in because I didn't want to open the packages of pre-wounds. So let's give you a close-up of Mr. Chickadee. Ooh, there he is. So he's looking a little bit rough still. I've got pretty much one layer of thread down. In the close-up camera, color's not showing up as accurately as what it is. What I've got, and we're working here on a printed background, so we definitely are going to want to have a relatively solid layer of thread. I think there's going to be some areas of this where I just might let some of the background fabric show through. So I have my sewing machine set up for free motion stitching, which means the feed dogs are down. I have the open toe foot on, and you can see how on most machines you can give that a little lift up to tuck our embroidery hoop underneath. We have a standard embroidery hoop just to hold things taut and secure, and also it gives us something to hold on to. And I have my machine threaded with the cream color that I was working in here because I want to put a little more of that color down. So now I'm going to lower my foot. I'm going to make sure my thread is tucked underneath. Because this is a brother sewing machine and it's what I sew on, I always use the thread cutter feature on it. So I don't have any little bobbin thread to pull up, but if you were working on a sewing machine without the thread cutter, you would want to bring that bobbin thread to the top surface just to keep it from tangling. So now we're away to the races, and I do mean away. I've got my speed cranked up, and I'm going to just start. We're in free motion, so it's going to take stitches as big as I move the fabric. So let's give her a try. And we're just gonna color. We're just gonna fill in the space. Once I'm a little ways away from that thread, I'm going to snip it off, and I'm just going to take that thread and fill in. Just lay down a layer of that creamy color. Now I can see from what I did, there's the outline. That's my outline. That's the area. The light is really bright here. It's hard for you to see the stitching. I'm going to see if I can swing this camera to a slightly different angle. All of our tech guys are heading out these days. Let's see if that's a little bit better. Woo! Are we making you dizzy? Okay. So you can see how handy it is to have that embroidery hoop to hang on to. So I can already see a little bit of, we'll call it, let's cut this and hold it up so you can see it. There we go. A little bit of serendipity happening here with this guy. Put over, oh, Mr. Chickadee. Might show up a wee bit. Just in this area here, I can see the background fabric showing through the thread, and it's almost giving me a bit of a shaded effect. I just might choose to put that thread a little thinner in that area than in some of the other areas. Check my reference photo. There he is. Oh, he's quite golden. Let's, we can do that. He's quite golden in through here. So, oh, come back here. There we are. So that's why I've chosen the cream color to get me started. But I'd like to see how the colors are going to look. You can change thread colors as frequently as you want when you're doing this sort of a process. As frequently as you want to worry about changing threads on your sewing machine. That's why I kind of like these brothers on some of the other Berninas as well, because where'd that go? There it is. It's very, very easy to change threads. And always, as usual, we want to run our thread from the top. We never want to pull that thread backwards. So we're going to go up and around. We'll throw a little bit of that gold color in here. There we go. You don't mind changing threads when it's that simple. That's for sure. Okay. So in this area is where that gold color sat. So let's give that a try. And we'll start. The nice thing with the thread painting is if you don't like how it looks, start sewing, think, it was maybe the wrong color. You can stop. You don't have to pick it out. Just pull a different color and stitch over it. It's a lovely blended kind of effect that you're getting. Oh, that's looking better. So you can make your stitches as long or as short as you want. So now you might see a little bit better coloration on this if I hold it up. If I hold it up this way for you, so you can see where we've laid in a bit of that lovely golden yellow color. He's starting to look pretty good, starting to come along. This area here in the wing, that it has no thread over it as yet, and yet my eye keeps being drawn to it as if there was thread. I think it's lovely. It's going to get some thread over it, probably a really soft gray, and but it just shows how the light colors are going to come forward, pop into view. I'm going to try another one. That was so much fun. So as we carry on, let's see how our time is doing. We have time for one more color. And yes, I do hope to finish him one day. It's really kind of relaxing, a little bit zen-like when you start doing this. And because thread painted projects are usually not huge, it's something that you can finish in maybe an afternoon if you're motivated. If you want to split it up, certainly over a weekend, do small little projects like that to really capture the image that you want to do. And practice. It's always about practice. You might not be spectacular your first time around, but it's one of those projects that it's pretty hard to go wrong on. There we go. So I've got a lighter thread in there now. It's a creamy white color, and we're going to do a little highlighting on his tummy here. Let's see. We'll do close up. There we are. Oh, that golden color's showing not too badly on there. All right, Mr. Chickadee, let's give you some lighter colors here. Thread painting is most often done with images of animals or birds, and I think it's because the little fluffy edges are so easy to do with thread. I can see the difference in that already. I think we need to do a little overlapping there and see how that works. See, we can just scoot over like that. All righty. So there's our last layer of thread here, and we have almost obscured the background fabric there, but it's like a lot of things when you're working with fabric and thread. Sometimes it's best to hold it further back and get the full image. It's kind of like painting. That's why it's called thread painting. And so you don't have to apply a totally solid layer of the thread to get the idea across. So, part 2 of our thread painting. Mr. Chickadee's coming along. I will get him finished and hopefully show him to you next week. But next week we're going to take a slightly different approach to things. Let me check my list. Let's find out next week. Make sure I have mentioned everything I have to mention for you before I set you free to go and enjoy this gorgeous weather we're having. Next week, along with finishing our machine thread painting, I think we're just going to try tackling the same sort of project by hand instead. So we won't be using our sewing machine. We're going to be breaking out our embroidery hoop again, using it the other way over, and see if we can do some thread painting with our DMC floss. Totally different feel, and I think it's really helpful to try both aspects and see which one you like the best. How are they different? How are they the same? So that's on the agenda for next week. I don't know what day it's going to be because it's going to be a little bit dependent on when the ladies pop in from Bernina University. One other thing to keep in mind as the summer goes along is we are well on our way. Dawn was in asking me for some advice on fabric for the kits again. For Patchwork in Paradise, our new mystery quilt sew along. You can see the 3 colorways here in the back behind me. We have officially Hot Hazy Days, so some lovely tropical colors there. The top one on the up there is Tropical Nights, and this one on the front side for something a little bit softer we're calling Sand and Sea. So don't forget, you still have a little while to sign up for those. Our first installment comes out September 1st, or as close to the September 1st date as we can make it. Our first class is going to run the 3rd Tuesday this time of September, and we are launched for another 12-13 months of fun finding out what Chloe and Ellie can get into when they go on a cruise, and a lovely, lovely quilt to make as we go along. So don't forget about that one. Check our newsletter, our website for all of the other classes that we have scheduled as well. Now that we're opening up, don't forget you have a choice between attending virtually or in the classroom. Classroom spaces are often limited. And if you're saying hello to us from Maryland, don't forget that you are still able to participate in our classes. Time frame's going to be a little bit different for you, but we welcome you from further away. If there are materials that are required for your class, you still have lots of time for us to ship that out to you. So with that, we will say bye-bye for now, or maybe since this is the first day of Stampede here in Calgary, I should say Yahoo to everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and join us here at my sewing room for hopefully Facebook and YouTube on, when's our next date? I'm not sure if the ladies will do something on Monday, but certainly Tuesday of next week at 4:15 Mountain Time. Till then, take care and thank you for joining us.